I'm standing in a garage that has gone completely silent. No radios crackling, no impact wrenches turning, just the sound of a sponsor rep who has stopped making eye contact with the crew chief. Somewhere on this pit road, a phone that should be ringing isn't ringing at all. One driver was never supposed to be here, and the men who built this sport for 15 years are the ones paying for it. What happened in that garage has not been said publicly. Not yet. Before you scroll past this, pick a side, because by the end of this story, you won't be neutral anymore. For over a decade, NASCAR's veteran economy has run on a simple formula: multi-year contracts, sponsorship renewals built on name recognition and legacy, not raw results, playoff bonus structures that reward drivers for accumulating points across a full season, not for dominating individual races. It was a system designed to protect the established names, letting reputation carry a driver even when performance started to slip. And nowhere is that reality more visible right now than at Hendrick Motorsports. The numbers tell the story on their own. Wins down from 5 to 2 between 2025 and 2026, top 10 finishes down 17, and DNFs up by 4. This was supposed to be the machine that never broke, the operation every other team measured itself against. Then one driver showed up who didn't play by that rulebook at all. That driver is Shane van Gisbergen. He arrived in the Cup Series without a long legacy, without a championship pedigree, and without the kind of name recognition that opens sponsorship doors. Early on, he was labeled a road course specialist and little else, a driver most insiders simply wrote off as a novelty act who would fade once ovals entered the schedule. Watkins Glen changed that perception permanently. Van Gisbergen ran down Ty Gibbs by 29.2 seconds over 18 laps, closing that gap like a predator that had already decided the outcome long before the final lap, and crossed the line 7.288 seconds ahead of Michael McDowell. Unbelievable to win with, the No. 97, Van Gisbergen said afterward. McDowell, who had genuinely believed he was in position to challenge for the win, admitted the shift happening in real time. There were moments where I thought, oh, maybe we can hang with SVG. If you're new here, this is NASCAR Insider TV, and we're closing in on 1,500 subscribers right now. If this breakdown is holding your attention, hit subscribe, drop a like, and leave a comment telling us who you think cracks first under this pressure. Now back to the story, because Watkins Glen was only the opening chapter of what came next. Sonoma arrived shortly after, and it erased any remaining argument that the first win had been a fluke or a one-off. Van Gisbergen held off Chase Briscoe by just 0.357 seconds, a margin thin enough to feel accidental, except it wasn't accidental at all. That victory tied him with Tony Stewart for second most road course wins in Cup Series history, sitting just one win behind Jeff Gordon on that all-time list. Briscoe didn't hide his frustration afterward, speaking honestly about where the race had actually been lost. I felt like I definitely had the better car. I didn't do as good of a job as he did driving. That same weekend, Tyler Reddick, a legitimate championship contender heading into the playoffs, suffered a mechanical failure that dropped him all the way to last place in the field. Two storylines collided on the same Sunday afternoon, one driver rising toward history, one falling out of contention, and neither outcome had anything to do with the other except the timing. The one argument still standing against Van Gisbergen was straightforward. He could clearly win on road courses, but ovals were considered a completely different sport, one where his skill set simply wouldn't translate. Nashville dismantled that theory in a single afternoon. Van Gisbergen posted his first career oval top 5 finish, taking 5th place while trading the race lead directly with two-time series champion Kyle Larson. His own words captured both the difficulty of the day and the confidence building underneath it. It's amazing. You start up front and your car feels so nice, and then you go to the back on strategy and it felt like a bucket of jar. His crew chief, Stephen Doran, went further, framing the result as a calculated progression rather than a one-time fluke. Top 10s are now the benchmark for us to be satisfied with. I think we can do it the next two, and then we've got 2 road courses after that. The shield the veterans had been hiding behind for months, the belief that ovals were untouchable territory, was visibly cracking in real time. While Van Gisbergen climbed steadily through the standings, the pressure on established names heading into the chase cutoff at Iowa Speedway became impossible to hide from cameras or microphones. Bubba Wallace didn't mask his frustration after a difficult qualifying session that left his team scrambling. "I'm so pissed off from qualifying. I think we're okay. That's just a poor excuse. We got to just be better." Denny Hamlin faced a separate problem heading into Iowa. Brake rotor issues during practice left him without reliable data on how his car would actually handle in race conditions. "I just have to give it some educated guesses and go off laps that I did get to run and go from there," Hamlin said, describing a level of uncertainty veteran teams rarely admit to publicly. Christopher Bell, fighting directly for playoff seeding position, summed up the entire field's mood in one blunt sentence: "Wherever we end up, all of us are in a dogfight right now." These are not manufactured storylines built for a headline. These are real drivers, under real pressure, saying exactly what they were feeling in that exact moment. Bring the numbers back into view, because they explain precisely why that pressure exists across the entire garage. Hendrick Motorsports, once the standard for consistency in this sport, has seen wins fall from 5 to 2. Top 5 finishes drop from 30 down to 20. Top 10 finishes down 17. Laps led fall by more than 1,000. And DNFs climb from 8 up to 12. The garage doesn't need an insider leak to explain what's happening beneath the surface. The spreadsheet is public, sitting in plain sight for anyone willing to look. And it does not lie, no matter how the story gets framed publicly. The standings only tighten that vice further with each passing week. Heading into Iowa, just 29 points separate Carson Hocevar, sitting in 5th from Christopher Bell down in 10th, meaning every single position, every lap, every small mistake compounds directly into final playoff seeding. Not every veteran on this list is cracking under the weight, though. Joey Logano offered a clear counter-narrative, proof that adaptation to this new threat is still very much possible for those willing to fight through it. "I mean, we're out the windshield right now. Just got to keep the attitude that way. I feel like we can get ourselves into position to set ourselves up to go win the chase." That contrast is exactly what makes this entire moment feel unresolved. Some drivers are adjusting to the threat Van Gisbergen now represents, while others are visibly buckling under it week after week. None of this is finished yet. Iowa hasn't happened. The chase cut line is still moving with every session. Van Gisbergen's oval progression remains in progress, not yet proven across a full season of ovals. So the question sits open, completely unanswered, heading straight into the next race weekend. Is this the year the old guard of NASCAR finally breaks under the weight of one outsider, or do the veterans claw their positions back when it matters most at Iowa? Drop your prediction in the comments below. Share this breakdown with another NASCAR fan who needs to see these exact numbers for themselves, and comment which driver you think survives this stretch. If you enjoy real NASCAR breakdowns like this, you'll like what's coming next.